If you've decided on a McLaren 750S, the arguments in favour of this Spider version are compelling, as are the improvements that separate this car from its 720S predecessor. One of the reasons you buy a supercar is for the sound it makes. McLaren always knew that. Now though, you sense that aural fireworks have become more fundamental to the brand's future engineering. And if that's the case, why not pick a body style that allows you to hear the V8 soundtrack that much better? Such is the appeal of this car, the 750S Spider. Launched in 2024, the 750S is the successor to the 720S model introduced back in 2017, a car which represented a fundamental rethink of the old 650S. The 750S represents more revolution than evolution, but it's shed 30 kilograms over the 720S, which accounts for nearly all the gain in weight of the Spider body shape over the coupe version. So, price apart, there are a few reasons why you might not lean towards this open-top version of this model, particularly now that it's been tuned to sound so intoxicating. To find out more, you'll need the industry's most comprehensive review, the Car and Driving Road Test. Bucking this segment trend, there's no complex hybrid engine here, but lots is still new. A power hike, obviously, as the model name suggests, up from 720 to 750 PS, and a 30 kilogram weight saving, creating the lightest series production McLaren road car yet. Without fluids, it tips the scales at just 1,326 kilograms, around 300 kilograms lighter than a rival Ferrari 296 GTB. Subtle changes have also been made to the M840T twin turbocharged 4-litre V8 out back, including revised calibration for sharper power delivery, high pressure turbos and lighter pistons. Plus there's a 15% shorter final drive ratio for the 7-speed dual clutch paddle shift automatic gearbox. The result of all this is a segment leading power to weight ratio of 587 PS per tonne. 800 newton meters of torque, that's 30 newton meters more than with the 720S, and a 0 to 62 mile an hour figure of just 2.8 seconds, 10% faster than before, with 186 miles an hour crested in 4.4 seconds later, before perhaps on the hangar straight at Silverstone, or very bravely on a de-restricted Autobahn, you top out at 206 miles an hour. So it's very fast. But then you knew it would be. As before, you control the powertrain via 3 selectable settings: comfort, sport and track, which are also your settings for the upgraded handling system, improved here with extensive chassis revisions, a faster steering rack and an enhanced version of the brand's clever proactive chassis control system, which limits body roll. There's also a 6mm increase in front track width and lighter springs, which are 4% stiffer at the rear and 3% stiffer at the front. The engine mounts have been modified to give what McLaren calls an intensified sense of connection. And perhaps best of all, the crackling standard fit sports exhaust sounds even wilder, furiously spewing noise and gas upwards as the turbos chirp and whistle. Roof down in this Spider model, it's an astonishingly emotive sound, and you can hear it brilliantly, even without the roof down, simply by retracting this rear window. We referenced the racetrack earlier. You'd ideally engage in at least a bit of circuit driving to get the very most from owning this car. But then all supercars feel good on a track. What's so amazing about this one is the great extent to which you'll enjoy it even if you're just cruising around. It's really no harder to drive than something like a Porsche 911, and in its softest comfort setting, this 750S rides the bumps better than some family hatchbacks we've driven, which is one of the things that makes this car a much better prospect for long distances than some of its rivals. It's surprisingly good at short commuting trips too, or at least it is once you allow for the really low ride height. The optional nose lift system that lets you raise the front suspension by 40mm at speeds of up to 37 miles an hour really is essential. Otherwise, this car is a much easier urban partner than many of its rivals, helped by the fact that the throttle pedal isn't unduly sensitive and all-round rear three-quarter vision is vastly better than any competitor can provide, thanks to the transparent glazed C-pillars of the teardrop-shaped roof canopy. Get beyond the city limits and to begin with you worry a bit about the width of the car, but it soon becomes evident that you don't need to because the precise yet feel-safe steering makes the car so easy to place on the road. McLaren continues to defiantly reject the all-electric setup that most rivals use in favour of an older tech but brilliantly responsive electro-hydraulic system that continues to vie with Porsche as the standard setter in this segment, making you utterly confident about throwing this 750 into a corner. In the dry anyway. As you might know, you don't get the security of four-wheel drive here, the sort of thing that would help you out in a pricier rival Lamborghini Tamario. More surprisingly, you don't get a mechanical limited slip differential either, which of course doesn't matter when the weather's fine, dry tarmac delivering almost boundless levels of grip. Unless you ignore our advice to leave the track settings for circuit use and do something really stupid with the throttle midway through a bend. We live in a country though where it rains for 30% of the year, and when it's wet, unrecoverable slides will easily be entered into by overzealous drivers who ask too much of the 305 section rear tyres. Don't say we didn't warn you. There are no issues with the brakes though. Like its predecessor and true to its track heritage, the 750S comes as standard with carbon ceramic brake discs that require quite a prod to function from cold. Once up to temperature though, they offer consistent fade-free stopping power, capable of braking this car from 125 miles an hour to a stop in just 4.6 seconds, covering over only 117 meters. In its own way, that stat is just as impressive as this car's sheer speed. If you want more, there's an optional track braking package featuring monoblock calipers derived from the McLaren Senna. The 750S is supposed to be 30% new beneath the skin, but visually looks very similar to its 720S predecessor, offered as with that car either as a fixed top coupe or, as in this case, in this glass-topped spider form. The visual DNA that all McLaren models share tends to mask the size differences between them. This, for instance, is a slightly bigger car than the Artura, 30mm longer. You'll find it even more difficult to tell the differences between this 750S model's coupe and spider body shapes at a glance. They certainly look much the same in profile as you move back past the narrow A-pillars and B-pillars positioned as far back as possible to enhance the feeling of cabin space. Both body styles are set off by these gorgeous bespoke cast alloy wheels, 19 inches at the front and 20-inch rims at the back. And under the skin, obviously, the brand's unique carbon fibre monocage 2 chassis is the same too, as is the carbon fibre lower structure. Retained from the old 720S, but now widened, is this ducting built into the double-skinned doors, there to replace the usual side intakes, channeling air into the high-temperature radiators that cool the mid-mounted 4-litre V8 out back. What differs between the two body styles is the bespoke carbon fibre structure that this 750S Spider employs above the engine bay to accommodate both the retractable hardtop and the compact carbon fibre rollover protection system, the latter shrouded by tonneau buttresses that, together with glazed flying buttresses, create a high pressure zone over the rear tonneau cover to reduce rear axle lift. That hardtop, incidentally, operates in under 11 seconds at speeds of up to 31 miles an hour. Driven by 8 electric motors, the operating mechanisms are near silent. As with the old 720S, the front end is dominated by the predatory gaze of these so-called eye sockets, which are cut deep into the front fenders and feature an aero duct to channel air to the radiators. They incorporate digital LED headlights with 17 individual LEDs and static adaptive technology that raises the beam pattern by half a degree for better forward vision when you crest 68 miles an hour. Those headlamps are now slimmer than those on the previous model, part of an uber subtle package of visual updates that also include a restyled front bumper incorporating a larger splitter and bigger air intakes to boost cooling. These lovely little ribbed vents on the front wheel arches are a lovely finishing touch. Here at the back, the evolutionary changes are more obvious. The longer rear deck, this intricate mesh grille and this resculpted bumper which guides airflow upwards, all different. The main change a previous 720S owner would notice though is this new central exit stainless steel exhaust, the focal point of the tapering teardrop shape that you see when viewing this car from above. The new tailpipe positioning has allowed this active rear wing, borrowed from the 765LT, to be sighted 60 millimeters higher, and that, together with a 20% bigger wing surface area, allows for greater downforce, additional cooling and extra braking performance. As before, this wing is hydraulically operated with McLaren's clever air brake functionality and 3 operational positions. The wing's fully deployed in just half a second when you slam on the anchors, the purpose being to shift the aero balance by 20% to improve high-speed braking stability. There's automatic 30% deployment in the so-called DRS mode, which clicks in to reduce drag when you're accelerating hard in a straight line up to maximum speed. And you can manually deploy up to 80% of wing downforce by pressing an aero button on the dash if you want more optimal cornering performance. Where improvements over the 720S were really needed though was inside. Air ducts aren't the only thing concealed within this car's flanks. The door handles are tucked away here too. Using them activates the usual McLaren dihedral doors, which hinge almost vertically. These redesigned by the brand for use in the earlier 720S so that they pulled up wider and required less space to open at each side. As a result, underground car park entry and exit to the car is easier than you might expect, aided on the coupe by the way that cutouts in the roof allow the doors to open in such a way that you can step over the sill and down into the car rather than having to duck beneath the roof panel. Thanks to the monocage structure, the door sill's lower than you expect too. It all makes a big difference to the ease with which you can get in. And once inside, well, the differences over the old car here really are pronounced, with cabin design very much borrowed from the Artura. Gone, a little disappointingly, is the novel folding driver display from the old 720S, sacrificed to make way for an instrument pod that now moves with the steering column and incorporates these corner rocker switches so that there's no more need for drive mode dials to be crammed onto the center stack. That makes space next to the new 8-inch central touchscreen for redesigned aerodynamic adjustment and launch control buttons on a panel that, as before, flows down into these 3 stacked gear shift buttons. It's a place to do business with the road. The grippy race-style seat positioning you perfectly in front of an Alcantara-trimmed wheel stripped of buttons and featuring large Ferrari-style carbon fibre-clad gear shift paddles. That McLaren infotainment system monitor is still of a slightly limiting portrait format, but it's now higher definition, more responsive and equipped with Apple CarPlay smartphone mirroring. Surprisingly, the brand hasn't yet got to grips with wireless functionality for this, and even more disappointingly, Android Auto remains unavailable, though the Woking maker says that it plans to add it. Navigation and voice control are of course standard fit. This home screen can display either with customizable widgets or the usual rows of icons, but lacks the kind of performance data sections you'd hope might be there. It does, though, include a smart multicoloured ambient lighting feature. And just in case you find that kind of frippery suggestive of a car that's lost its performance focus, McLaren has added a switch to the right of the screen for a new individual mode, known by the engineers as the Speedy Kiwi button because of the logo it bears. Its official name is the McLaren Control Launcher, and it allows you one-touch access to your preferred drive settings. As we said, those settings are now primarily controlled by the comfort, sport and track options of these upper rocker switches, with handling on the left and powertrain on the right. You might need to get good at memorising which is which, because they can be tricky to see over the steering wheel rim. Otherwise, ergonomic issues are few. You sit low, the pedals, they're just where you want them, and all-round visibility is far better than you'd ever expect it to be in a supercar. Ultra slim A-pillars aid your forward view at junctions, while your over-the-shoulder vision is improved on the coupe by glazed C-pillars, and on this Spider model by compact tonneau buttresses. Most of the detail niggles that we noticed on the 720S have been dealt with too. McLaren has added a more responsive in-car microphone and a wireless phone charger, plus the essential and now much quicker operating nose lift system is now operated by a convenient button, and the steering column can now be fitted with powered electric adjustment. Are there still issues? Well, the electric seat controls are fiddly, and some of the Apple CarPlay icons are too small, but nothing of any real consequence. McLaren continues to disapprove of head-up displays, but you don't really need one because the instrument screen's difficult to fault, restrained, elegant, and for our money superior to the busy, gaudy display of a Ferrari 296 GTB. On its right side, there are gauges for engine and oil temperature and drive range, while on the left can be shown readouts for either trip data, tyre pressures or car status info. All of this flanks a central rev counter, which switches to a horizontal format when you select the track mode. Importantly, given the substantial sum being asked here, this feels the best built and highest quality interior of any McLaren we've yet tried, shading comparable Ferrari and Lamborghini models in that regard, with pleasing touches including the 3 smart eyeball vents and the intricately curved and angled door cards. As you'd expect for the money, the materials used are lovely, especially if you pay the extra for the copious carbon fibre trimming and stitched Alcantara we have here. It's a more spacious and airy feeling cabin than you'd get with rivals too, especially with the optional electrochromatic sunshade panel that's been fitted to this Spider version, which varies its glass pixelation at the press of a button. If you prefer the coupe, you'll be able to option in a rear window allowing you to see the engine. With either body style, an option you'll certainly want is the improved Bowers & Wilkins audio upgrade, because the standard 4-speaker McLaren audio system is a bit feeble. It's a bit disappointing to find that the neat door pockets fitted to the Artura, cleverly designed so that they didn't deposit their contents on you when the door swung open. They haven't made it here. But some of what you might have put in them can be stored around the centre console or put in this convenient pocket at the leading edge of the seat. This lidded box between the seats has both USB-A and USB-C ports, and there's a cup holder between the seats and another smaller one in the lower part of the centre stack. With the coupe, you get a large 210-litre area below the rear screen that'll be useful for stowing coats and shopping packages. That's actually more space than you get in the official luggage area provided beneath the bonnet. With this Spider, you get a tonneau panel that lifts to reveal a very shallow luggage space area indeed. We can't imagine what you'd put in it. On the Spider, there's also this netted pocket between the seats. There's just 150 litres of capacity in here, but it's quite a deep space that comes fitted with a light and a netted pouch, but gets cluttered up by the necessary tyre repair kit and fire extinguisher. Still, you never thought a supercar would be practical, did you? As we filmed in early 2025, McLaren was asking from around £251,000 for the 750S in coupe form, or from around £276,000 for this Spider model. It's unlikely, though, that many cars will reach owners listing at much under £300,000 once the most commonly specified extras have been added. You'd expect these figures to represent a vast saving over similarly performing rivals like Lamborghini's Tamario and Ferrari's 296 GTB. Those two cars do, after all, build in the supposedly more sophisticated plug-in hybrid technology that's missing here. And sure enough, those two Latin contenders cost a vast amount more, leaving this 750S in something of a price and power no man's land. In terms of both, it's a step above cars like the Maserati MC20, Aston Martin's DB12 and the Ferrari Roma, which compete more directly with McLaren's lesser GTS model, and a step below more powerful V12 engine supercars like Aston Martin's Vanquish and the Ferrari 12 Cilindri, which you could argue are less driver-orientated grand touring supercars. So we can easily see why you might feel that there's nothing quite like a 750S, in which case you'll want to know just how generous the brand has been with standard specs. So let's take a look at that now. Most of the things that make a 750S special come included, like the dihedral soft closed doors, the staggered 19 and 20-inch ultra lightweight 10-spoke forged alloy wheels shod with Pirelli P0 rubber, the carbon ceramic brakes, and the active rear spoiler with its air brake and automatic drag reduction systems. Inside the Alcantara trimmed interior, you get a choice of comfort seats, carbon fibre racing seats, or super lightweight carbon fibre racing seats. And McLaren includes LED headlights, keyless entry, power folding mirrors, ambient lighting for both the cabin and the engine bay, dual zone climate control, a reversing camera, an electrochromatic rear view mirror and an alarm. Media connectivity is covered off by a McLaren infotainment system, 8-inch monitor with navigation, wired Apple CarPlay, voice control, and a 4-speaker audio setup with radio reception, supposedly improved by a new antenna. Beyond that, get ready to spend big. But before you do so on aesthetics, make sure you tick some essential boxes first. You're certainly going to need the vehicle lift system for speed humps. For commuting, we'd want the sound comfort windscreen and the 360-degree park assist system. And the fairly mediocre quality of the standard audio setup means that the 12-speaker, 1200-watt Bowers & Wilkins sound system upgrade, with its powerful amplifier and continuum cone speakers, is virtually a must. That little lot will add over £10,000 to the asking price right off the bat, and if you've this Spider model, you'll almost certainly want to find another £7,500 to have the retractable hardtop roof with this test car's clever configurable glazed electrochromic functionality. You're probably also going to want the double glazed engine window through which you can see the V8 out back. Otherwise, well, it's really down to you. As you'd expect, many happy hours can be spent on the McLaren configurator, deciding between the various paint colour, wheel style, tyre spec and brake caliper options, and you can vary the exterior look with either black or carbon fibre detailing. Inside, you can upgrade the cabin with either of two trimming options, either the race style performance pack or, as in this case, plusher Tech Luxe finishing with extended soft grain leathers. For track fiends, to go with the aforementioned super lightweight carbon fibre sports seats, a titanium harness bar and a McLaren Senna-derived track braking package featuring monoblock calipers are available. For those who aren't track fiends and have become regularly familiar with the offerings of Colonel Sanders, a more spacious touring spec seat size is offered. You can also vary the steering wheel finish, the colour of the seat belts and the sill trim. Right, enough with options. Let's finish with a look at safety provision. Now, we don't subscribe to what seems to be an unwritten law in this exalted section of the market that high-performance cars like this can forego the latest camera-driven safety systems in pursuit of so-called weight saving. Brands like McLaren should at least offer buyers the option of adding in things like autonomous braking, lane departure warning, driver fatigue systems and rear collision assist setups. We'd hoped that some of this stuff might have made it to the standard spec as part of the design transition to this 750S, but there's still nothing like that available here, nor can this car deliver an independent Euro NCAP crash test result. It hasn't been tested by that organisation and won't be. That isn't to say that it isn't potentially very safe should the worst happen though. The Monocage 2 carbon fibre central chassis tub is another aspect of the car that borrows from Formula One technology. It's claimed to be more crash resistant than any conventional chassis tub would be, which is just as well because if you lose control of a car like this, it's likely to be at much higher speeds. To try and prevent that happening in the first place, there are the usual ABS anti-lock brakes and an ESP traction control system with an interim mode that allows you a little leeway for tail-out heroics, but will cut back in extremis if it looks like ambition is likely to get the better of your talent. Other safety-orientated kit includes a tyre pressure monitoring system, and hill hold assist prevents the car from rolling backwards as you pull away on inclines. Plus, driver, passenger and side airbags are of course standard. Residual values for the old 720S improved a little over the rather disappointing ones McLaren had recorded for its predecessor, the 650S, but they were still a bit softer than the brand had hoped for, with some customers cycling through their ownership periods quite rapidly and others grumbling about things like the car's infotainment system and lack of aural fireworks. Those issues have both been fixed now, and the 750S leans a little on the undoubted halo effect of the mighty Senna hypercar model, as well as others like the Elva and the Speedtail. Add to that critical acclaim that seems largely in accord with the fact that the 750S is now the most driver-orientated choice in the segment, and you have a recipe for improved retained values. McLaren reckons that 720S customers added an average of around £25,000 worth of options, and that'll happen again with this 750S, creating a residual value impact that's often overlooked when calculating depreciation percentages. Oversupply isn't going to be a problem, not too much of an issue anyway. In case you're interested, the efficiency returns are both slightly reduced over those of a 720S. Expect a combined cycle fuel economy figure of 23.2 mpg, while emissions are rated at 276 grams per kilometre. Those figures are of course vastly worse than those recorded by rival Lamborghini Tamario and Ferrari 296 GTB models, which have gone the PHEV route. Likely owners almost certainly won't care a fig about any of this, except to wonder what kind of range they might get from the 72-litre fuel tank. But even they might notice the substantial benefit in kind tax rating that a 750S incurs, meaning vast annual tax bills of well over £20,000. Fuel benefit will probably add a further £5,000 or so to this. On top of that are all the various VED road tax supplements applied to luxury and supercars these days, and top Group 50 insurance means that buyers will be keeping their brokers in Beaujolais too. Of course, many owners will acquire this McLaren as just one of a stable of models and will have negotiated their own multi-car deal with their insurer. Continuing with the bad news, you don't get the 7-year free servicing package that Ferrari offers, but McLaren will pay for the first 3 years of servicing, which is required every year on 9,000 miles, whichever comes first. With expensive consumables and high labour rates, you'll certainly need to know what you're letting yourself in for. And if you're looking at long-term ownership, well, it's probably best to buy into one of the additional service plan options that are available at point of purchase. Also included in the price are a 3-year vehicle warranty, a 3-year paint warranty, a 5-year cosmetic corrosion warranty, and a 10-year anti-perforation warranty. McLaren says the 750S is about truly exhilarating levels of emotional connection, an objective that reaches its zenith with this Spider model. In truth, the differences over the old 720S aren't that great. There's just a bit more 765LT inspired attitude as part of this very thorough update. For us, the key evolution is an aural one. The V8 engine sounds just that bit more exciting, which roofed down in this Spider variant you can enjoy all the more. Arguably, it's the kind of car McLaren does better than any of its rivals, and if you choose one, nobody will be able to persuade you otherwise.